So here we are. I have with me Elizabeth Whedon, who has been with us for 12 years. Lauren Binder is in this meeting. Lauren is a member of the homeowner team and has been with us for how many years? I've lost track, Lauren.
19, I think.
19, yeah.
She's muted.
And
I just have to interrupt and say I've worked for you for 12 and a half years, but I was one of your first customers listing my home on the Vineyard over 20 years ago. So long relationship.
Right. And Jim Reese, our COO, is also in on this meeting too, and he might just chime in from time to time, especially if I mess up, which I sometimes do. I'm a little technically challenged. So we're going to have an intro and present to you a number of different topics about managing your vacation rental. And we don't want you to feel like you're drinking from a fire hose. But there's an awful lot of information to share. And just remember that we will be recording this, and we will also be sending a link afterwards, not only to the recording, but to any blog posts that pertain to some of the subjects that we're about to talk about. So don't feel you need to take copious notes. All of this information is on our site, and we will make it readily available to you. Just a brief overview of your, when you first start with us, you have a listing. And just keep in mind that you do not just post a listing and then you're good to go and never change it. It's an evolving thing. You want to make sure that you keep it up to date. One of the most important aspects is your pictures, and you may be enhancing your home at some point. Just make sure that your pictures are up to date and as effective as they possibly can be. And guest reviews are something that we emphasize all the time. If you're new, you don't have that ability to get any guest reviews at this point, but every year you should try to get at least a few from your past summer's guests. This past summer was especially important because of the virus, and future guests will want to know how you handled that this past year. It's important to keep your calendar up to date. We post the last updated date on every calendar, and so when vacationers see your calendar and see that you have a last updated date of 2 months ago, they're going to wonder whether it's accurate and up to date. So that's really important to do that. Pricing, of course, is something that once you set, you can change at any time. And it's important to keep in mind that, as the season gets close, if you have some weeks that aren't pricing well or aren't renting well, and you're not getting inquiries for them, it might be the time to lower your price. But again, we have so much information about this kind of thing, and we can't take the time to get into it right away, or during this session. So I'm really giving short shrift to some of these. Your title and property description are really important. You can change the title at any time to focus on a particular, if you're interested in renting for the fall or the winter, and just make any changes because the title is what draws them to your listing when they're scrolling through a number of listings. And if you have any special offers, or you have a pricing, lower your price, or you want to talk about a off-season weekend or whatever, be sure to take advantage of our special offers, which are free to you for you to use at any time. We also have homeowner alerts, which come in handy in the summer. That is something that you would pay for, but and so it's optional. Social media, just if you're on Facebook, be sure to share your home with your Facebook friends, and they will have friends that they might share it with, and even if they're not interested.
Sorry,
And
just
yeah,
interrupt.
Beta?
I just want to say on the social media, you're sharing your listing, so it's just so easy because you're sharing all the pictures, but also the calendar, so people can immediately see what weeks you have available and your pricing. So it's just, you know, sharing that one link goes right to your listing, and then your friends can share that with their friends, right? So it kind of turbo boosts your marketing efforts. It leverages your listing to other people.
Right, thank you. Also about the owner, this is something that a lot of people skip in the beginning. They just don't even, perhaps don't even see it, but it personalizes you as the owner, and it gives you more credibility. Vacationers really love to see what you're all about, why you bought your home, or has it been in the family for years, what you love about it and its location. It's a great opportunity to just personalize your listing and not just have it as a, you know, just kind of a bland listing that without that personalization. On signs, if you would like one, they are free, and you can pick it up in the spring. We offer the option of having it delivered to your home and we'll just put it right in your yard if you would like one. And it has your ID number on it, so people driving by or walking by will see your home and can go right onto the website and see your listing. When you go onto your listing, you'll notice that there is a listing quality audit. You'll see that there is hopefully why is this happening? A smile face. And then underneath the face, and hopefully it's a smile face, sometimes it might be a frown, or there's a quick view, and it's an overview of your whole listing and with suggestions for improvements, whether it's the pricing or photos, your calendar, guest reviews, if you don't have any recent ones. Only you see this, but it really does help for you to see. It's an assessment of the overall quality of your listing, and look at it every once in a while and see where you stand, because it's easy to see and see where you can make improvements. We always try to emphasize that although it's a business, you are entering into a professional relationship, and you're handling this in a business-like manner, you will be the most successful if you consider your paying renters as guests in your home. And that's probably the most important aspect of a home rental. And there's an element of trust in renting out your home. And it goes both ways. You are trusting your guests to take care of your home as if it were their own. And they are trusting that when they see your listing online, what they see there is going to translate to a home that equals or even exceeds what they saw online. You want them to arrive and be pleasantly surprised and not disappointed. So it's really probably the number one thing that we stress more than anything when we're talking about the whole vacation rental business. I don't like talking about it as a business, because it just it's something very personal. And for most of us, our homes are treasures. We enjoy them ourselves for the most part. And many people stay in their homes at times. So it's something that you don't enter into lightly.
I was just going to add, if I can, Joan, that I think of it as all of us are sort of like innkeepers or B&B owners. And, you know, it's a service industry. You know, Joan's right, it is a business, but it's the most important thing that should just pervade everything we're telling you today about marketing and managing. It's all about the guest experience and providing all the things that Joan just mentioned, the personal connection and so forth, but it's about their being really happy in your home. So they come back and write you great guest reviews, basically.
Right. So initially, there are some things that you've probably, if you're on our listing, on our site right now, you have already done most or all of these things, but you need to determine your policies regarding cancellations. And, you know, we have many blog posts on this, and won't go into the details of that, but you do need to determine what your cancellation policy is and include that in your lease. Pets, whether to offer a pet home or a pet-free home, whether to charge for pets or not. And then linens, are you going to provide them, or are you going to offer a linen service that the renters pay for, or ask them to bring their own? All of these are individual decisions. You need to line up your service provider team and do it soon. You need to do it early on, especially the turnover cleaners, which are becoming hard to come by. It's not easy to find them, especially at the last minute. So important to line them up early, and also along with turnover cleaning, spring cleaning, that's a must. And then as far as other service providers, depending on your situation, the trash and recycling, you need to line them up, and landscapers, plumber, if you need to. There will be things that come up from time to time, and if you have all these people in place, it will make the management a lot easier, especially in the heat of the moment when a renter calls and says, "Uh-oh, the dishwasher is broken." And you need to define your payment schedules and draft your lease template. We have sample leases that we can send you. If you offer any special amenities, like a fire pit or kayaks, we have addendums that you can have your guests sign. And in terms of your payment schedule, you need to determine, you know, when people will be responsible for paying, you know, the deposit. And then normally a deposit is 50% upon signing the lease, and then 1 to 3 months prior to their tenancy, you would require their final balance, and along with the lodging tax and the security deposit. And of course, there are exceptions to that. If they're paying for rental that's coming up right around the corner, you would have to have a different policy for that. So again, we have a lot of information about that. And then finally, register your home with the town. We have a list of the towns that do require registration, and usually there's a fee of maybe $75 to $100. And everyone is required to register their short-term rental with the Massachusetts Department of Revenue. And you don't need to do that in order to list your home on the site. but you just need to make sure that it's done prior to the summer so that your taxes are due the month after the departure of your tenants, so that if you had tenants in July, you would pay remit their tax to the DOR by August 20th. So I know I rushed through that.
May I ask, is the listing of which towns require registration up on your website?
Yes, yes, I can send it to you.
Okay, thank you.
It's on the blog, actually.
Okay, I'll look there. Thank you. That's fine.
Sure.
Thanks.
Okay. Beta, you want to take it away?
Great. I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about communication. We talked about how important making a personal connection is, and just making a good experience for your guests. And that is important before they even arrive in your home, for months before. It's literally from the first moment they inquire about your home, that whole period until the day they arrive. It's during their stay, and then it's after they leave. Communication is good for one thing, because not only making that personal connection, but also because it just removes so much of the misunderstandings. When Joan and I read, when we read the guest reviews, for example, if there's a negative review, which happens very rarely, don't worry about it, very, very rarely, but when it does, so often it stems from just a simple misunderstanding. So communication is just so important on so many levels, in so many different ways. So beforehand, it's not only to make sure they really understand your home, and I'll talk about that in a sec about screening, but it's to make sure they sorry, I lost my train of thought. Anyway, just it's about in this year was particularly difficult because of the pandemic. There was so much. There was people were so, their nerves were so heightened because of, oh, am I going to get, is the house going to be fully cleaned, and are we even going to be able to travel for vacationers? Are we even going to be able to get there, and all those kind of things? So it was more important than ever for us homeowners to be really communicative, reach out to our guests and say, don't worry about it. This is what I'm doing to clean my home. This is how flexible I can be up to a certain date. Just really stay in touch with them. So it's not just for the exact things that you're communicating, but just to make them know that you care and that you're working with them. You're not just some blind management company. So I just can't stress enough how important that is. And again, that's when before they arrive, that once they've arrived in your home, you can't just go, oh, that's it, they are there, and forget them. You really need to check in with them once within the first 24 hours or so. Just make sure they don't have any questions, they're finding everything. Again, so often that can ward off a negative review because you've just touched base and just made sure that they're happy. And then finally, after they leave, to follow up, make sure that you get that security deposit back to them right away, and then ask for that guest review. So a lot of what, you have basically what we're giving you here is kind of an overview of your to-do list for managing, and put on there, communication is one of the big ones, right? It's one of the things you need to be really on top of. As I mentioned, that communication starts with screening right from the beginning when you get that inquiry. So be prepared before you speak with them. Again, as Joan said, we have blog posts on every one of these topics, but read that quick blog post about what questions to ask them. Their happiness in your home is dependent on your ability to make sure it's a good fit, right? So when you talk to them, ask if they've been in there. Oh, I won't get into how to screen, but just know how important it is to make sure that they're going to be happy in your home. You just don't want to get that booking just because it's a booking. You want to make sure they're a really good fit, that your house is exactly what they're looking for. One of the things that will make your life easier in just doing all this communication is if you can create some templates. And we're on our site working on helping to provide some of those for you. So in some cases, they're very individualized to each person, each house or something. But of course, it starts with a lease. And then I certainly have a template that I use for the cover letter for my lease. If you use these templates, it not only makes your life quicker and easier, but it provides a kind of standardization. It makes sure that it helps you not forget to send them certain information or that kind of thing. So just kind of make a mental note if you can, try to build a kind of a repertoire of templates for all your communications. And finally, at some point, not an early thing, but certainly before they arrive, you want to think about and create a welcome book. You can either create an actual book. A lot of us have a folder in our homes or a notebook. Everybody does it a little differently. And or you can have it online, have an ebook, so that they have it before they arrive. They can take a look at it and they can pull it up while they're staying in your home. But just keep that in mind, that once your first tenant arrives, it's just really nice to have some kind of a welcome pamphlet, things to do, whatever. You'll work on that and you'll change it year after year. You'll add to it and delete things and so forth. But Joan, if you want to click to the next one. I want to talk to you guys about a feature that we've had for many years. And it's very easy for me to get really excited about it, because I just honestly don't know how homeowners on our site don't use this. And I think a lot of people do. When we have our in-person forums, usually every year, we do a hand raising, and a lot of people do use it. It's called the booking management feature. It's accessed right from your account, from your listing. And here listed on the screen, you can see some of the things it allows you to do. It's certainly for a starter, it allows you to record each booking. So you hang up the phone from talking to somebody, they say, oh, great, sounds perfect, we'd like the week of whatever. You immediately go in while that information of speaking with them is fresh in your head, and you can set it up. You can either do a quick entry or a more full one. But when you record that booking, and you can enter it either as booked or tentative, when you record it, it allows you to track all the different documents, like when you send out the lease and when you expect it back, when you get the payments, and all those kind of the security deposits, when the information, if you send out a key, all those kind of things that you kind of have to keep track of. And not only that, but you can go to the settings area and actually have the system send you weekly reminders. Hey, the Smith lease is due this week. So you're on the lookout for it. And if it's late, you can send them a quick, your guest a quick reminder. Hey, don't forget your second deposit is due, or the lease, I haven't gotten the lease yet, or something. It also, there's a section that I love that just has, it's just called notes. So I write in there anything about if they have kids, or I allow dogs. So I always say something about the dog. It's just part of what we were talking about earlier, that personal experience, making the guest experience as good as possible. Well, if you can learn as much as you can about your guests, right, it makes you more able to be a better hostess, to cater to certain needs if they have some allergies or anything like that. So I find that notes section very, very helpful. I already mentioned, I guess, about the reminders. And finally, well, two things. Also, when it records your bookings, it automatically updates your calendar. So you don't have to do both. When you enter that booking actually is a confirmed booking, it updates the date stamp in your calendar and marks it off in your on the calendar on your listing. And finally, what I was going to say is that it does help you avoid double bookings. I think that's one of our biggest nightmares is homeowners, that we're going to commit to somebody and then somehow we end up, it doesn't happen often, but Joan, wouldn't you say like once or twice a year we get a panic call from a homeowner?
Yeah, that's a terrible, terrible feeling to do that.
But if you use the booking management thing, or you have your own, it doesn't have to be ours, but if you use some kind of really dependable booking management system, it will help you. It will just prevent your booking two people on the same dates.
Elizabeth, if I can ask a question.
Sure.
One feature that I think is really neat in here, I was in here as you're talking, is
Yeah.
that it auto-populates the name of the vacationer. And I'm curious where it's pulling it from, because I've obviously had a number of views on my counter I can see, but this is the only person I've communicated with. So I'm curious if it's pulling from the communication stream.
It's a really good question, Linda. It's when you go to fill out there's a quick one, and then there's a full, I forget what it's called, enter full booking.
Full entry.
There's a drop down.
Yeah, that's what it,
down.
well, I saw it and she popped up there. So the person who's booked, and what I'm curious about is where on the back end does it pull that information from? Is it pulling once somebody sends an inquiry to us?
Yes, that's what I was just going to say. That list and that drop down comes from inquirers. Anybody who's inquired about your home, not necessarily, booked it or anything.
Great.
And then you just select it. And what's great is, yes,
it auto
populates.
Right. Exactly. And I saw
email address.
The email and phone number auto-populated in there.
Right.
So that's a lovely little feature. Thank you.
Yeah, it really is. I'm sorry. I don't know how much detail to get into, but that is one of the things that is really helpful about it. And Joan just showed this next slide. It's so small, it's kind of hard to see, but you see how it gives the rental date and then the vacationer's name and whether, no, this is a different view. There are different views that you can have. And one, it gives the dates and then the vacationer's name, the status of the booking, if it's tentative, booked, or canceled or something. And then, sorry, it's so little. Oh, maybe there's the name. I'm sorry, John Doe and stuff. Anyway, what I wanted to point out is you see the check marks for all those documents that you expect to get back. And if they're checked, that means they came in. If they're blue, that means that they're in the future. So it just lets you know when those documents are due or payments, whatever it might be. And if you can see that bottom one is red, that means it's overdue. So if you open this and you go, ooh, look, so-and-so hasn't paid me that second deposit or the security deposit or something. So just in one view, it just enables you to kind of keep track of everything nicely. Make sense? Finally, before I toss it back to Joan, I just wanted to draw your attention or tell you guys about this great ebook that we published a couple of years ago. It's basically geared to all of you who have never managed a vacation rental before. It's a very comprehensive guide to all this basically that we were just talking about. And I believe there are probably some links to the individual blog posts and so forth too. But so that, like Joan said, you don't have to, we're throwing a lot at you today, but this ebook really, you can kind of skip down to different sections of it if you want to go, oh, what was that? What did they say about screening? Or what did they say about security deposits or something? It's a pretty quick and easy thing to get to. So you'll see that.
Yeah.
Good. Joan, you want to talk about?
Yeah, something that we launched, was it about a year ago, Beta? We formed a vacation rental owners community Facebook group. It's a mouthful, but this is a Facebook page that is dedicated to anyone who owns a vacation rental on the Cape or Islands. And you don't have to be a member of our website, although I say the majority of them are. We're up to 762 members of this group, and it's very active. So it says 740 here. At any rate, a lot. And we, we have lots of information on our site, but every day the people are active and just posing questions to the other community members, such as, I'm looking for a good plumber in the mid-Cape. Do you know someone? And or I just had a cancellation. What should I do? I mean, they just pose all kinds of questions.
How would you handle this?
Yeah, I mean, some people might ask us, but this is a great place to go to. You get a lot of, I guarantee if you asked a question, you would get probably quite a few replies in a very short period of time. People who might have different views on different take on it, different kinds of responses that they, might not all agree, but it's a good way to just get feedback from others. And so often we feel like we talk to homeowners at our forums, and we usually have homeowner forums this time of year, and because of the virus we couldn't have in-person forums. But when we talk to them and meet them, they talk about how important it is to be able to communicate with others, because so often you're alone in this. You might not know any of your neighbors. You might live out of state. And so it's really a way to share ideas and just feel like you're not in this alone. So it's, join and you can, refer to it as often or as little as you'd like. We offer, those of you who have been on our website for a while probably know that we've got a lot of support here that we offer in terms of consultations. We have a photographer who's photographed more than 600 of the homes on our site over the years. She lives in Brewster and just does a really excellent job. And we'll give you ideas too if you're there while she's photographing your house. We give you ideas about setting up your home and just it's just a great way to take advantage of this special service. And if you just let us know if you are interested in that or video. We can have them send you a quote and take a look at your listing if you have one already. And they can give you some ideas of how they think they could improve your listing. Digital marketing, we could help with that too. It's not something that I would do, but myself, because it's not my field of expertise, but we have a marketing team and they're very active, and we are just pushing out content all the time. And then, the last is our consultations. We can either do an in-person consultation or I do pricing analysis. So I would take a look at your listing. I would compare it with other similar listings with similar amenities and write up a full report on my findings about your pricing and how it compares to others, and my suggestions, not only for your pricing, but for your listing. And that normally costs, well, it's $80 an hour, and it usually doesn't take me longer than that. And here's our contact information.
I just wanted to add on the contact information, you guys. Joan has just mentioned the professional services that we offer, and they are fee-based, of course. I just wanted to encourage any of you, if you haven't already signed up with us, or if you started the sign-up process, as some of you have apparently and haven't finished it. I'm Elizabeth. I probably, if you started the process, I probably already reached out to you by phone or email. But if you don't want a full-blown consultation service, we're here for you. We just really want you to get going and to get off on the right foot. So don't hesitate. There's our contact right in front of you. Call or email us. My email address is just Elizabeth@WeNeedaVacation.com. But don't hesitate. Don't let this be overwhelming for you, and don't be afraid to reach out and let us know how I can maybe just get you started on the sign up process. Or again, if you finish that, just some specific questions or something. We're here. We just really care about. Joan and Jeff have created a company that's just amazing, and it's built on many of the same precepts that we're explaining to you about personal service and making sure your clients are happy. We want you guys, we want this to work for you. If it doesn't, if you create a listing that isn't up to speed and doesn't stay that way, isn't constantly kept fresh, then it's not going to succeed and you're going to leave us. So we really can't say it enough how much to encourage you to reach out and let us know how we can help.
Yeah. Our homeowner team spends every day on the phone and via email communicating with homeowners. I think some homeowners probably have us on their speed dial. Right,
Yep.